Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV, and I've been a tech reviewer now for over a decade, but I've never owned, believe it or not, a robot vacuum cleaner before. But now I've got one here. This is the iRobot Roomba Combo Essential Robot Vacuum Cleaner and Mop. And as its name suggests, this is a mop and a vacuum cleaner. It can do both when you've got its mopping attachment on the bottom of it. Now this is, as far as iRobot products are concerned, kind of the budget offering. It doesn't have a lot of bells and whistles, but it does get the basics done. But the basics are here very basic. And I'm going to give you my impressions, both of this product, but also as a first-time robot vacuum cleaner owner. And we're going to get into all of this in just a second. But I do want to let you know, in the interest of full disclosure, that this came in free of charge through the Amazon Vine program. However, all the opinions you're about to hear are my own. No one is paying for this review, nor has anyone reviewed or approved what you're about to see before it was uploaded. So let's get into it now and see what this robot vacuum cleaner is all about. Now the price point on this comes in at around $220 right now. I think there's a sale going on. It's normally about $275. As far as I can see, this sits at the very bottom of the iRobot product line. So it has a very minimal set of features, as I mentioned, but it does do, I think, the basics adequately. Now upstairs, I've got a pretty decent sized area. My entire downstairs floor is wide open. That includes the kitchen, the living room, and the bedroom. There are doors, of course, but we leave them open. And when I first turned it on and got everything connected, I set it loose for about an hour, and it basically worked its way throughout the entire bottom floor of my house and cleaned everything. And then when I was done watching it, I hit a button on my phone, and it came back and parked itself automatically in its charger. And then it could go out and do it again. Now I found that the vacuum was very effective at getting into every space it could fit itself into, but it did pick up some battle damage. You can see how scratched up the top of the vacuum cleaner got here by running under the furniture and some of the other things it was encountering. It also picked up a bunch of scuffs and scratches here on the front. The best way to describe it is kind of like a dog who's got eyesight problems. It keeps bumping into things until it figures out where it can go. And it does build out a map that apparently makes it a little bit easier in future vacuuming sessions to find its way around. And I did find when I ran it subsequently off of its base, it was able to navigate my space a little more efficiently. At one point it was having trouble finding its way back to its charger, but it did get there eventually, which was really fun to watch. Now they do build this as kind of a mop and a vacuum cleaner, but the mopping features are a bit lacking in my humble opinion. So what makes it a mop is this microfiber cloth that you attach to the bottom of the unit here. This does come off, and you can wash it in the washing machine or under the sink with some water. And they do give you two cloths in the box so you can swap them back and forth. They rate them for like 30 uses a piece. And the problem I have with the mopping function is that it doesn't use any kind of detergent. So what it does is it just has this passive drip of water that comes out of its water tank that you fill up, and then it just pushes the water around here with the mop. So it does a little bit of cleaning, I guess. Maybe it picks up some dirt, but it's not actually using any kind of detergent to make things actually clean. And the issue here is that they tell you not to use detergent at all because they say it can damage the machine. So its mopping is water only. And I think if you are looking for something to actually clean your floors, you're going to need to find something a little more robust to do it. But the vacuuming side does work pretty nicely. Now, what you have to make sure of course, if you do want to use that mopping function, is to keep its water reservoir filled. And you get that here in its pull-out cartridge. And this is the water tank, but it's also where all the dirt goes. So what you do is open this part up here to fill up the water tank. It will drip out onto the pad, and then it will use that to clean the floor. The problem is that you don't have much room to store all the nasty stuff that the vacuum picks up. Now, I do have a Siberian Husky at home, and this is 2 nights worth of vacuuming from the dog. So the good news is the Husky hair did not jam things up too badly here, and I can easily clean this out and get going again. It also has a filter here that you have to keep clean. My dog is about to blow out her coat, so this hair problem is going to get a lot worse in the weeks to come. They do give you a tool here so you can unstick the roller here when you need to, and you can also brush some things away here with the brush that's built in as well. I would say, having played with this, that this is probably best suited for an apartment with flooring, with maybe a couple of throw carpets here or there. But the capacity here is not enough, I think, for a house with carpeting, especially if you have a lot of pets to deal with. But it is, I think, good for a small living space. And when I ran it, it did about 1,000 square feet each time. And as you can see here, even with the dog, it was able to do 2 runs without requiring me to replace the pack here. Now, if you take the mop function off of it, it will do one other feature, which is a spot clean, which is basically a spot vacuum. So if you have a spot where there's a lot of dirt, you put the cleaner down on top of it and push this button here, and it will run around in circles and clean up that area only. But if you have the mop attached, it won't do that. So you may have to take this on and pull it off from time to time. Another thing they noted is that although it can go over rugs, if you have it running in mop mode, it will mop the carpet rug that it's running over as well. So you have to plan out how you want this to go, or they say roll the carpets up before you set it loose with the mop function here. So if you have a lot of throw rugs in your area, this may not be the ideal solution because it's going to go over them and get them wet in the process. It does have some intelligence, though, to keep it from running off of the stairs, so that was nice to see. As you can see, also, it's got a good amount of suspension on its wheels here, so I found that even when it looked like it was about to get itself stuck underneath something, it managed to navigate its way out. One other feature here is a spinning brush, because this is a round vacuum cleaner, so it uses the brush to grab dust that it can't reach due to its shape, and it draws that into the vacuum cleaner. So this is a consumable part. You'll have to replace that after a while. I'm not sure exactly how long it'll last. I guess it'll depend on how often you use the vacuum and how challenging your environment is. You can also swap out the brush here as well if you need to. And of course, you can always get more of these filter packs too. So I would say, at least in my situation, this is probably working well as a supplement to our normal vacuuming and mopping. But in a smaller apartment environment, especially one with no pets, I can see this being really useful. Now you can set it to go off when you leave the house if you use the Amazon ecosystem or the Google ecosystem. There's also an app that I'll show you in a few minutes to get everything scheduled as well. I will say I was a little nervous having this thing running when I wasn't in the house because I'm afraid it might hit something that the kids left out and cause things to topple over. It's pretty good about not hitting things too hard, but I found some instances where you've got like planters like I have upstairs that have legs, it doesn't always slow down before it bumps into them, and a few of them were wobbling a bit. So if you have things that are in danger of teetering over, you might want to think twice about having this thing run unattended. But that's not a problem unique to this device. It's probably going to be something you'll encounter with any robotic vacuum cleaner. Let's take a look at the app now and see how that works. All right, so here is the app, and I did have my vacuum cleaner start off on a mission here upstairs. And you can also pause it from here and send it back to its home base as well. And this app will work whether you are home or not because your vacuum will attach itself to your Wi-Fi to operate. Now this again is kind of the minimally viable product here, so there isn't much in the way of configuration. Out of the gate you have 2 options for functionality. You can have it vacuum everywhere or vacuum and mop everywhere, and that is it. The only thing that I could figure out to configure here is a time limit. It doesn't give me much else to work with. So this is, again, very basic. It's going to go out and vacuum and mop if you wanted to do that, and then go back to its charging base to charge up again. You also get a history of the work that it has done. So for example, I had it running for about 1 hour and 42 minutes this morning, and it just kind of snaked its way throughout my entire house until I told it to stop. If the battery ran low, it would have gone back to its charger and pick up the work from there. But you can see it draws out a map of where it was. I can't actually kind of line this map up with the way my house actually looks, but I'll take its word for it. Now, as far as battery life is concerned, it does run for about 2 hours before it needs to go back and charge, and that was about what I experienced in my testing of this device. There's apparently a product health screen here, which I can't get to work. I would imagine that perhaps after a couple of days it'll get a sense as to what the consumable parts are and decide when it needs to replace those, but for the most part, this is what you get from the app. Now, as far as noise is concerned, it is not that loud. I would attribute it to kind of a fan running on high, and of course you've got the sounds of it bumping into things and moving itself around. It definitely does not sound like a vacuum cleaner, but it might be too loud if you like your house quiet at night. So I think for a lot of folks, running it during the day is probably the best option. And if you have neighbors in an apartment building or in a condo or something, they're probably not going to hear it through the walls. It doesn't make as much noise as a big old vacuum cleaner would. So overall, for the price point, I found that this particular vacuum cleaner is probably going to work fine for supplementary cleaning. I think it is a much better vacuum than it is a mop, especially because it doesn't use any detergent. So you're not really mopping the floor, in my opinion, other than putting water on it and wiping it back up again. So it's not going to replace having to do the mopping yourself from time to time to get things really clean. But on the vacuuming side, I think if you're a relatively tidy person and you don't have kids leaving stuff all over the place, it's going to do a pretty good job picking up dirt as a vacuum cleaner. And you don't need a lot of bells and whistles to get that function done here. It seems to work its way around the room pretty effectively, even if it looks a bit clumsy as it does it. But as a mop, it's probably not something I would recommend if you were looking at this specifically for that feature. That's going to do it for this one. Until next time, this is Lon.TV. Thanks for watching.
This channel is brought to you by the Lon.TV supporters, including gold level supporters Brian Parker, Budley, Hot Sauce and Video Games, Steve Green, and Amda Brown. If you want to help the channel, you can by contributing as little as $1 a month. Head over to Lon.TV/support to learn more. And don't forget to subscribe. Visit Lon.TV/s.